Hi everyone, today I'm going to talk about protein, why it's important, and where do we get it from. So first off, to jump in is what is protein? So protein is basically a molecule that's built up of amino acids, and we can actually categorize the amino acids into two groups. The first group being essential amino acids and the second group being non-essential amino acids. What that means is that essential amino acids actually can't be formed by our bodies, and we need to be consuming them in the form of food, whereas non-essential amino acids is the opposite, of course. So looking at what is the function of protein, protein actually has many functions in the body, and it forms the building blocks of many of our hormones, enzymes, and so forth. So one of the most common functions of protein, of course, is for muscle building, recovery, and repair, which is definitely important. But on top of that, it is also important for immune system, as well as for digestion, energy production, and the list actually goes on. So it is truly important to make sure that you are consuming sufficient amount of protein in your diet. Now, when it comes to sources of protein, we get animal sources, which is the most common source of protein. We know it's your chicken, your meat, eggs, dairy, fish, and so forth. And these proteins are actually more bioavailable, meaning that the body can actually absorb them a lot easier than your plant-based proteins. And they also are called complete proteins, which means that they contain all of the amino acids, and it's just easy for the body to actually use them to do the bodily functions that protein needs to do. And then we, of course, also get our plant-based proteins, which is something like your nuts, seeds, and then, of course, legumes like your beans, lentils, chickpeas, and so forth. Then also tofu and soy products also form part of the plant-based proteins. Now, where it gets a little bit more tricky with plant-based proteins is to make sure that we are consuming them in a good variety and in combination to form complete proteins. What that means is that, unfortunately, not all of the plant-based proteins are complete proteins. In other words, they might be lacking 3 or 4 or even more of the essential amino acids. So that's where pairing the proteins actually is very important. So in other words, maybe having rice with lentils, because rice has, let's say, 4 essential amino acids and lentils has 5, and together it actually forms 9 of the essential amino acids. So it is truly very important, if you are following a plant-based diet, to make sure you are consuming a good variety so that you are getting in all of the nutrients and especially proteins and essential amino acids that you need. So on top of protein with a plant-based diet, we know we also need to look at nutrients such as your vitamin B12, for example. So there, it's also very important to get in that variety. And if you're not sure whether you're doing the right thing, make sure to contact us. But we have formulated our vegetarian and vegan plans in such a way that it will be suitable for the amount of protein and nutrients that you would need. So, but the moral of the story is just to get to make sure you are getting in a good variety. One other consideration to take to look at when it comes to plant-based proteins is that they unfortunately are a little bit higher in carbohydrates than your normal animal proteins. It's not necessarily the end of the world, and I don't want to say carbohydrates are bad, because they're not. I mean, we made a video on why they're so important. It's just important to note that if you are on a plant-based diet, you are typically eating more carbohydrates, which is not a problem. But sometimes it might just be a little bit of a tweaking and a fixing up here and there to make sure that you still have a good balance and that you're getting in enough fats and other proteins as well. So make sure that if you aren't sure whether your diet is suitable, that you contact us. But again, like I said, if you are following one of our eating plans, I'm sure that you will be on the right track. But if there's anything else, let us know, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend.